Track baby, try another one.
Duse M,
Jump on it, jump on it, jump on it. Jump on it, jump on it.
Jump on it, ride it like jockey. The hell smoking that loud, lace the yak with mama. Make your mama proud, popping it like shot. Turn up, it's a gangster party.
PT, ain't never popped a Molly, but if I ever catch Mac, I'ma pop a Holly. I don't even rob a cop the Harley. Blowing so much green, I shame Marley. Yeah, I push the line to its full limit. Hit the hole like 22, boy, I'm a young Emmett. Nothing go like snow, now that's a cold image. Still whistling, sending, knocking them white women. Only reason I do it to avenge image. To the day they go before they box me out. Knowing me, it don't matter, I simply change my route. On my hobby.
Where's. Welcome to the Damu Kiwe Conversations. Home of the West Coast. Voice of the culture. Where's. You know what I'm saying? So we got Marvelous Minds in a viral way having an intense conversation on race and Lucky from Hood Stocks. You know what I'm saying? I think that this definitely needs to be talked about. I was already putting together something on Black and Mexican race relations as it pertains to California. And I caught myself in something that I pride myself on not doing. You know what I'm saying? And that's categorizing Sureños as Mexicans, because most Sureños are born in California and not born in Mexico, but they're descendants of and their parents, a lot of them come from Mexico, with some immigrants that are Sureños that weren't born here, that were born in Mexico, but a majority of them are Americanized Mexican descendants. And we could paint the brush as if we beef with Sureños, the meaning the California Bloods and Crips, right? And blacks as a whole, because a lot of innocent blacks have been targeted. Innocent, non-affiliate blacks targeted by and unalive by Sureños. Ethnic cleansing is what it was used. And we're going to get into all of that. You know what I'm saying? But I was on to that and really trying to see where everybody was standing as far as from the West Coast when it comes to on immigration, because a lot of us believe that immigration is needed. You must protect your borders, but it's not necessarily having an immigration policy. It's the way that you do it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. And my disagreement comes with the way that the Trump administration is violating civil liberties and human rights afforded to humans and people in the United States. You know what I'm saying? The discrimination. We're going to get into all of that. But let's first start off with the Viral Way podcast and the conversation, Marvelous Minds and the Viral Ways conversation. I think this is well-needed content. And we're going to come from a place standing for our people. And we're going to speak respectfully and truthfully to the best of my ability. You understand? Yeah.
So Marvelous Minds and the Viral Way podcast had an intense conversation about race and comments made on the Hood Stocks podcast. Let's get to this video, and thank you to everyone who has been watching and subscribed to my channel.
Culture, none. But we see Hispanics doing black culture, but shitting on us as a people, though.
And then another thing is we can't let
that doesn't even make sense.
What is hip hop.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense.
We can't let y'all redirect what is hip hop. Hip hop.
Look it, bro. Look it.
Hip-hop,
ain't nobody redirecting what is hip hop, but you're not gonna say that's yours and be a gatekeeper.
Hold on. You're the outsider, bro. Hip hop deals with 5 elements, bro. Simple as that. It's 5 elements to hip hop.
Let's hear this.
It doesn't deal with poetry. And the thing is, they was all independently created by the black people in America. You guys came along later, and we allowed you guys to be participants in it. Bro, what are you talking about?
No, bro, it's MCing, it's DJ, it was breakdancing, it was graffiti, and it was knowledge of self.
You know what? Let me explain something. Let me explain something. Okay, go ahead. It wasn't
about captivity.
Go
we
ahead.
started a culture in the inner city, the Bronx, New York, to be exact. Yeah, there was some people of like Jamaican descent, but they had Black American influence because that's where they were raised.
The Jamaicans even copied the Black Americans, like
started telling our stories. We started telling our stories via rap. It caught fire. It went worldwide. Every culture is now a part of it, but don't get it misconstrued. That is still Black culture that they're a part of. We can't change the history.
Look at, let me explain something, because you just said what I said right now. They were telling the story, right? Through dance, music, and song, right?
Yeah, but it was the Black American experience. This wasn't.
What is Black? Is Puerto Rican Black? Is Colombian Black? Is Cubano Black?
They have Black.
Yeah. Well, what Black in itself is a social construct. That was a good question by, I think his name is Marvelous, the Southsider, right? I think I know Marvelous. I think we was in the halls together. Is he from Tepa or East LA Reefa? Is one of them, but he looks like, in fact, he looks more like a native or an indigenous, what they call indigenous Mexico, like Indian, you know what I'm saying? Than a European. But Black is a social construct. Color and race is a social construct. First and foremost, is different species. Let's get this correct, right? Our species are the first Homo sapiens sapiens. So Black in itself is a misnomer. So we're going to say, to be technically correct, Homo sapiens sapiens, right? The prototype of Homo sapiens sapiens. Those without Neanderthal DNA in their original state. Humelinated celestial beings, carbonated beings, to be to answer your question. Black is a misnomer, but for what short terms, instead of having to explain that every single time, that's what we're going to call Blacks, because that's a general term associated with those original Homo sapiens sapiens. See, people say, oh, we're all one race, the human race. No, we're not, bro. These people are not Homo sapiens. These people derive from Neanderthals. Facts. Not talking about the Mexicans. I'm talking about Europeans derived from and had sex with Neanderthals. When Neanderthals, it came into what we know of them as today, they still have that different species. Like, you got different species of reptiles, right? But is a dinosaur a lizard? No, but they're both reptiles. But it's a subspecies of reptiles. We are the prototype, the original beings on Earth. Let's get to the content, though.
Listen,
y'all was telling y'all.
Man, you're so caught up on the word Black. That's what keeps you. That's what keeps you in your little box. You're so caught up on that word.
Keep it G.
You can't tell someone who is conscious about the word Black or their people that they're so caught up on that they're in the box. We been broke out the box, right? In fact, we're the same ones that broke out the box and fought for civil rights that you and your people employ today. So how dare you go into your community, especially being a Southsider, saying that you stand for La Raza? But we're going to get into documents the Southsiders are most known for exploiting their own people, threatening to call immigration on people from Mexico. La raza, it symbolizes Mexican people, not your gang, not your organization, not your criminal enterprise. So under the guise of standing for La Raza, it's everything to talk about brown pride. I love that. Being for your race, practicing social economics. I love that. We need to do more of that. Because when we were doing that, we had Black Wall Street. And we were at the highest point of business ownership in the history of our people, in the history of this nation, history of the people in this nation, our people in this nation, as written by the oppressors, their version of events, his story, right? So what's good for the goose is necessarily good for the gander. If you want to be conscious about your descendants who were Aztecs or Mayans or Incas, or not knowing if he's Mexican or Central or South American, whichever one of those tribes you claim descended from, Olmecs, right? Whichever one you want to be conscious about that. Y'all even teach that in your literature. But as soon as you see a black person taking that same position and being conscious, you got a problem with it, you're a hypocrite. See, erasure of history of your history is exactly how they replace your history with their false narratives. In this case, we're talking about hip-hop. So questioning hue melanated original being, Homo sapiens sapien, a carbonated hue melanated being. What is black? And you're stuck in a box because you're standing for your people. Nah, you're stuck in a box because you haven't even opened the door to build relations with others before you try to start with the erasure that you've inherited and learned from your oppressors, from those colonizers. Let's get back to the content.
I'm not caught up on the word. What I'm caught up on is anything that we create, no one wants to give us the utmost credit for it. It's like, yeah, y'all
Let me-
created it, so we like it. So
Let me
we
tell you
support
something
it.
though. This is what
Anything
you're
that
not. This
y'all
is what you're
create-
not understanding, bro.
Anything that
Viral,
y'all create, we give y'all the credit. Like, yeah,
viral. Check it out. Check it out, viral. Check it out. Let me just say. Let me say this one thing because I gotta start my show. But let me say one thing, bro. Let me say one thing. This isn't something that you started. This is both of our stories of captivity that we're expressing through music and dance. So you can't go claim the fame as a single segment group, bro.
No, we're not claiming the fame of nothing that you did. Majority of hip hop, for a fact, Low Profile Records claims to be the biggest distribution of Chicano music. I've done my research. They've sold 7 million records. The biggest platform of Chicano rap that you guys had and contributed in total has sold 7 million records. Tupac Machiavelli sold that in his first year. Fuck is you gonna compare an ant to a giant? Your contribution isn't even noteworthy. So don't act as if you walked that walk. Like you had that. You guys were greasers. Let's go back historically. The Chicanos in LA because a lot of them is like in our culture, we call them house niggas or sambos, right? They worship the image of the beast. They worship the blue eyes, the blonde hair, and even have a lot of racial discriminatory hatred towards those indigenous from the tribes, indigenous to Mexico, because they're darker, whether it's Puebla, Oaxaca. I've been there for almost a month. I lived there. So this ain't nothing. I'll show y'all the pictures, bro. This ain't nothing that that's a big secret about the Chicanos, specifically in Los Angeles and Southern California. We're not talking about the North Days right now. We're not talking about the Texas Mexicans. We're not talking about none of those. We're talking about Sureños specifically, right? Have even took it a level higher than that. Linking and clicking with, for power, the Aryan Brotherhood, the Nazi lowrider, skinheads, some of which who are incarcerated for crimes against Mexican people. Yet these are the same people proclaiming that they are la raza, that it's all about the race. Ultimately, it's all about money to them. Who got the money? The government. So if in any chance that they could get to the money, they're going to do whatever they can. That's just how they move. You dig? But as far as you saying you guys walked hand in hand about the struggle, when you get to talking about hip hop, you talk about Grandmaster Flash, right? Where were the Mexicans at when that started, when that whole wave was going, when this video was going on? Where was the Mexicans at in that video? Because I don't recall seeing it. I'm sure we had some Latinos who played a part or were in the community, because the ties in New York between Dominicans, Dominicans is a little different, but between most Latinos, a lot of them identify as Black, right? Especially Puerto Ricans. Some don't. Some of them also are sambos mentally, but they choose to identify who they feel and associate with the most, and so you can get a split there. But we're talking about the South Side, the Sureños, the Mexicans in Southern California. Where were you guys at? Now, on the West Coast, I could think about some of the earliest hip hop I heard on the West Coast. Mixmaster Spade, right? Toddy T, the Bannerram, Ice-T, right? DJ Aladdin. What was DJ Aladdin's race? Let me make sure. But I know he wasn't a Southsider. DJ Aladdin. Let's see what DJ Aladdin from Low Profile, Henderson rapper William Calhoun. Yeah, DJ Aladdin wasn't he don't look like he's Hispanic. DJ Aladdin looked like he's Black. So I'm saying, who were the pioneers in hip hop? NWA. Did you guys break records? Did you guys sell y'all tape recordings at the Rhodium and sell 500,000 copies? No. You guys were not trailblazers. You guys did not have the influence across the globe on other races internationally the way Straight Outta Compton, the Raider caps, the LA Kings caps. I don't even recall ever seeing an essay. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles for 40-something years of my life. I don't even recall seeing an SA ever wear a King's hat, period. They're not really into hockey. Dodger cap, definitely. Los Doyes, for sure. SA supported that. But the attire, khakis, white t-shirts, the big chains. You guys say blacks is flashy. That's not just that. Well, now you guys are starting to absorb that flashiness, but the new way. You know what I'm saying? The same style and dress that we wear right now, mimicking that. And I'm quite sure that you might not recall, but we're gonna go over here real quick, right? In Los Angeles, the Chicanos in Los Angeles in the early to mid 19 or early to late 1900s. Why did the Chicanos imitate whites and greasers? Let's see what they say. So before we get back into that, let me break it. Y'all know I like to cook, bro. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get back to this brother, both of these, all four of these brothers. You know what I'm saying? Right after. Let's go ahead and go to this real quick. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys predominantly wanted to be like your white counterparts. You know what I'm saying? That's a really thoughtful historical and cultural question. Let's unpack it carefully. In Los Angeles during the early 1900s, especially from the 30s through the 70s, Chicanos, Mexican Americans, were negotiating their identity in society that often marginalized them. The reason some Chicanos imitated aspects of white Anglo-American culture and greaser culture were complex and rooted in assimilation. You guys were trying to assimilate and show them we're better than them. We're not like them. This is the mentality in Los Angeles when we're talking about Mexican contributions to hip hop. In the 70s, when hip hop started, Lady T, first female rapper, arguably, with Square Biz from Venice, California, right? Assimilation, resistance, and identity formation. You guys were trying to formulate your identity over here. You were trying to assimilate into culture over here. And because the way that blacks were portrayed negatively impacted your decisions to believe you didn't want to be like us. Nobody wants to be at the bottom. Oh, we're better than them, massa. So, pressure to assimilate into white American culture. Social mobility. Many Mexican Americans faced discrimination and were excluded from economic and educational opportunities. Adopting white middle-class fashions, speech, and behavior was sometimes a strategy to gain acceptance and upward mobility. So you can have success. You adopt their ways. You try to emulate and behave like them. Americanization program. Schools and institutions push Mexican Americans students to abandon Spanish and Mexican customs. Assimilating was often seen as a way to avoid segregation and prejudice. Well, as long as I act like Shay Whitey, the Neanderthals, And they hate blacks. Oh, yeah. Fuck those negros. Yeah. You know, as long as you did that, you might be accepted, right? And in a city like where segregation in areas that today you guys you get to Cudahy, Southgate, all of that shit. Back then, bro, the police would have beat the dog shit out of a black or Mexican pulling up and at nighttime in any of those areas. Fact. So for y'all to start being accepted in them areas, you started behaving and adopting their ways. A desire for belonging in a city like Los Angeles, rapidly growing and dominated by Anglo-American norms, imitating whites could be a means to fit in or to project respectability. Influence of the greaser identity. The term greaser had multiple meanings at different times. Early on, it was a racist slur used against Mexicans in the U.S. Southwest. But in the post-World War II decades, greaser also became associated with working class Mexican Americans and white youth subcultures. Guys with slick back hair, leather jackets, and classic cars. Chicanos youth drew from this Pachuco and later greaser style as a form of rebellion and pride, not imitation in the submissive sense. It was about shaping a distinct identity that rejected both total assimilation into whiteness and marginalization by mainstream society. Cultural hybridization. Los Angeles was and is a cultural crossroads where Mexican, black, and white working class cultures overlap. Chicano youth often mixed influences from zoot suiters to rock and roll greasers to express their own urban identity. You guys had your own urban identity. The zoot suits, the greasers, right? This fusion became part of Chicano cultural expression, which later evolved into movements emphasizing Mexican heritage and social justice like the Chicano movement of the 1960s and 70s. Chicanos in early to late 1900s Los Angeles imitated or borrowed elements from white and greaser cultures partly to gain acceptance in a racist society, but also to experiment with identity and create their own subcultural expressions in response to exclusion. Over time, these adaptations became acts of self-definition and cultural pride rather than simple imitation. Would you like me to show you how these influences evolved into later Chicano styles like Cholo culture and the lowrider identity? Yes. Yes. And please show pictures to highlight it. Their customs. So, I forgot, I didn't even spell please right. So we finna get to it. Boom. Oh yeah, y'all can already see it, so that's good. So this right here is right. You see the hair slick back with a palm cone, like just like these Europeans over here, these greasers, right? With the old school cars, dressed like they did, like John Travolta in Grease. That would be the best way to explain it. Grease lightning, boom, 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 go grease lightning. Yeah, that's what they was on, bro. Anything dark, they were prejudiced. Just at the same prejudice and hate for blacks that they inherited from their colonizers. So these people are telling you about get outside of your black box, saying that you're boxed in. But it seems like they were seeking identity themselves. They were overly pushing and highlighting they were Chicanos to differentiate and any association from blacks. And then Los Angeles and Southern California became segregated. Some more and more and more to the points where it is now. So, yes, brother, respectfully, in the 70s, when we was doing hip hop, early 80s, Too Short, and all of that stuff, you guys were not popping or even had a buzz with the hip hop music, bro. We're talking about on the West Coast. And then on the East Coast, you guys aren't even in the history. They don't have large populations. They're far from the border. They don't have large populations of Mexicans in New York, in the Bronx. Right? So, yeah, bro, I don't know what kind of revisionist history this essay is trying to put out there. But, bro, just because you say it, marvelous minds, doesn't make it true. Now,
You can't do that.
It's not both of our stories.
Bro,
this is something we
not in
created.
captivity,
And
bro.
You need to study, bro. You need to study history.
Bro, you can't tell me.
he gonna tell him he needs to study history.
Study my history.
Majority of us didn't come over here on no
What do you mean study your
Your ass-
history? I actually teach your history. What are you talking about?
That's cool, but you can't.
How is a Southsider gonna say he teaches the history of the first people on the planet Earth? How you gonna teach a black man about his history, a black man about his history? You never allow your enemy ever to teach you history about yourself, because they only gonna tell you what they want to tell you. If this isn't the prime, I'm so thankful of Marvelous for that statement. For you to be, and we gonna show y'all a little bit more about the Sureños since they want to be in our business. We gonna get into their business. We gonna talk about the dope fiend ass Mexican mafias. Everyone I met been on dope. Everyone. I was on the yard with about 12 of them. The money they extort their own people for, their own camaradas, their own foot soldiers. The tienta. If you go stuff some dope in your ass and visit it, if your family or loved ones love you enough to make sure you got some weed or tobacco and you swallow it, or you stuff your ass and keister some weed or some drugs, go ahead and tear it off. You owe the big homies. Classic extortion move. Extorting their own people, but they gangsters. I never met a gangster that got extorted. Respectfully. I just haven't, bro. You know what I'm saying? And the craziest part about it, we're going to get into all of that anyway. Let's get back to the video.
You can't tell me about my history more than me. The fact that
You
you're
can
saying
tell us
this
about
is
your
both of our
Asian
stories,
history. Why you don't talk about your Asian history that you got?
And what do you? You're coming out with some nonsense, homie. Where did you get Asian from? Where did you get that from?
He probably meant Mongolian. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what he was referring to. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll listen. I haven't heard this yet. I only seen some of it. And I'm like, well, fuck it. I already got the other stuff I was going to put together on whether or not we should support immigration, support them in stopping the way they're executing immigration in California. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, fuck it, it's meaningful. Let's have this conversation. Let's go.
You know
Where did you get that from?
Bro,
Let
he
me
don't know
know-
nothing
let me
about
know
his
so I can
lineage,
check you
bro.
on that.
He don't know nothing about the lineage talk, bro.
No,
Where
you
did
don't know
the-
anything about the lineage talk, homie.
Where did
You
the
should watch
Hispanic
my
race
show,
come
homie. You should watch my podcast so you can learn something about your culture. Because what you're doing,
He said, you should watch my podcast so you can learn something about your culture. Bro, he just was talking about, they were talking about y'all descending from the land bridge during the second glaciation period. Was it the second or the third glaciation period? Let me see. Native Americans, I want to be technically correct, right? Native Americans arrived in the Americas after which glaciation period? After which so the last glaciation period, known as the Pleistocene, right? Epoch, specifically after the last glacial maximum. So you're saying 20 to 26,000 years ago is what they're estimated. As the glaciers began to retreat around 15,000 to 13,000 years ago, humans migrated into the Americas, which we already know humans were on all land masses previous to this glaciation period. Our people have been here at millions of years, but the Homo sapiens have been verified by his story, his story over 500,000-600,000 years ago. 500,000-600,000 years ago. And you don't gotta believe me. Well, I'm gonna teach you something about my history. Since you assume that we don't know about our history, well, let me make sure I can teach you something about my history, right? So we gonna go ahead. Let me go grab it so y'all ain't gotta do it. So yeah, you talking about the Wisconsin glaciation, and I'm in Wisconsin now. The Beringia, the Barren Land Bridge, that's what they're talking about. That's your people migrated then, right? And we've already been here for hundreds of thousands of years, bro. So let me pause this real quick. So I told you I wouldn't be that long because this is what I do. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Scandalous Los Angeles TV. This is what he also does, man. This is what me and him do. We build, man. Y'all might see the content, and as you can see, we look for opportunities like this to educate our people as well as continue to build mentally with our people. So where they say that all blacks derive from Africa and all of that, I believe that maybe the oldest bones discovered so far were on that continent, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where all the people derive from. They have patterns that lead them to believe that majority of the people deriving from Eurasia came from the motherland, talking about people who left the motherland and went and made it with Neanderthals or whatever, and that's where their haplogroups were formed out of Africa theory. Shout out Sheik Annie Gia. Maybe the brother Marvelous. Maybe you should go, read some Sheik Annie Gia's books. You understand what I'm saying? But in any event, we don't believe first and foremost that travel between America and Africa was as complicated as most people represent, especially when you coming from West Africa and you catch the Canary Current, right? 6 months, a year. I've never seen no slave boat could make it, and all of this weird ass shit. And these is ignorant people, and some of them, some ignorant people from within our culture who have noticed the negative connotations associated with Africans and try to exclude themselves from that identity, when in reality, some of them come from Africa. Notice I say some, not all, because some of them come from the Iberian Peninsula. You forgot the Moors conquered Spain, Portugal, some parts of France, Castile, for almost 800 years. That's almost 1,000 years. And in 1492, after the Alhambra decree, a lot of Ladinos, black Ladinos also, after the Alhambra decree, ran from persecution, because some of them were Sephardic Jews, others were Muslims, and some of them ran to the Americas. This is 1492. But let's go ahead and go up here. We're going to read some of this with y'all. And then, but first I want to show you some bloodline shit real quick, right? So let's talk about an African American black, whatever you want to call us. Be it your choice. Albert Perry, since you want to talk about our history, is extremely ancient DNA. Haplogroup A00. Albert Perry was an African American man, black, hue melanated, Homo sapiens sapien prototype, celestial carbonated being, whichever title you want to attach. From South Carolina, whose Y chromosome DNA sample was tested in 2012. What researchers discovered in his sample shocked the genetic world. What is haplogroup A00? His Y DNA belonged to a newly identified haplogroup called haplogroup A00, the oldest known branch of the human Y chromosome tree. This is the oldest known branch of the male species discovered anywhere. And this black Afro-American, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, in South Carolina has the oldest DNA found on Earth for a Homo sapiens sapien, not a Neanderthal. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. A00 split from all human male lines 200 to 325,000 years ago. Estimates vary, but all place it older than any previous male lineage ever found. Before this discovery, the oldest Y lineages were dated around 180,000. So until 2012, the people who write your history, who try to teach you your history, is telling you that the oldest male knowledge lineages were about 180,000 years ago. But now recently they found double that in the bloodline of a black. What's a black? These people. Call them what you want. We're not going to play semantics. Afro-American, Negro, or Negroid, because it's a type of skeleton scientists study. With the nose prognosm of a wide nose, lips, hair, genetically different from those deriving from the Neanderthals. This pushes the time of the most recent common male ancestor, aka Y chromosome, Adam, back much further than expected. So you learn from these people, right? And they tell you who you are. And then you gonna tell us who we are? Get the fuck out of here. Henrietta Lacks The woman behind the HeLa cell, who was Henrietta Lacks? Henrietta Lacks was an African-American born in 1920 in Virginia, a black. In 1951, she was treated for cervical cancer at Johns Hopkins Hospital. During her treatment, doctors removed cells from her tumor without her knowledge or consent, which was normal at the time. Doing medical tests and research off of a human patient because they're black. Maybe you never heard of the what was it called? The syphilis test that they ran on brothers. Maybe you don't know America's history. And it's always his story. Because they cover it up until they can't cover it up no more. They deny it till they can't deny it no more. During her treatment, doctors removed cells. Oh, okay. What made her cells unique? Her cells turned out to be the first immortal human cell line ever grown in the lab. They were named HeLa cells, like a healer. HeLa cells have been used for development of the polio vaccine. You ever got a polio vaccine shot? Thank our ancestors. Research on HIV, cancer treatments, genetic mapping, cloning, space biology, testing effects of zero gravity, and COVID-19 research. This is what you could thank Henrietta Lacks and the people from our, because within us, the black woman is God. Within her are cells and genes that you guys can only wish can help heal you, make you live magic. Black girl, hashtag black girl magic. And the thing, I love my sisters, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's a little bit about our history since you're telling us what we don't know, but what you don't know. Who were the Black Latinos? Let's let you know that. Black Latinos or Latinos Negros were Africans who had been acculturated to Iberian, Spanish, and Portuguese language, religions, and customs. These were people that you would call black. They're calling them African, but blacks, right? Who already knew Spanish, Portuguese, because they coming from the Iberian Peninsula to the Americas. Many had been enslaved or freed in the Iberian Peninsula before 1492. After the Alhambra Decree, 1492, which expelled Jews and Moors from Spain. Remember, I told you that they ruled for nearly 800 years? Just say 1,000. Flex a little bit. Conquer Europe and tamed them. Taught them the sciences, astrology, medicine. These is the people that they erased from history, destroyed the books, and persecuted them under the name of religion, which expelled Jews and Moors from Spain. Enough of those niggers, enough of those Afros, Africans, niggers, Jews, enough of them. They ruled us for too long, right? And similar pressures in Portugal. 1496, a number of Latinos, African and African descended people who were Christianized left or were deported. What kind of ships did they travel on? The vessels used during this late 15th to early 16th century period were the same general types as those used in the early voyages of exploration and colonization, caravels. So it goes into the type of ships that were used, right? Merchant and slave ships, later decades. By the early 1500s, the Portuguese and the Spanish crowns authorized transport of Ladino Negros to the Canary Islands, Hispaniola, and later Mexico, right? 1500s, obviously you're talking about right after the Alhambra Decree, with like 10 years, 20 years, right? And later Mexico and Panama. Those were typically merchant vessels refitted for human transport, not yet the massive slave ships of the 17th century, but precursors of that trade. Destination: early arrivals went to Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Canary Islands. By 1501, the Spanish crown officially allowed Black Latinos to settle in the Americas, as they were considered Christianized and trustworthy, unlike Bozales, Africans newly arrived from the continent of Africa. They were already mentally, they spoke the Spanish language. They were already Christianized and believed and worshiped the white Jesus. They took their religion, took their identity before they allowed Black Latinos to settle in the Americas around 1501, the beginning of the 15th century, right? Now, mind you, all of those were not slaves, right? Category ship style. Maybe you could go, some of those were Black conquistadors, right? So, description, example, voyage, and then it goes into all of the different things. So then you go into the different ships, right? And how they could hold, et cetera, and the carracks. So during the Middle Passage, you're talking about 6, which would be 6 weeks to 8 weeks to get from Africa to the Americas, right? Then you could get, if it's a ship sailing from Lisbon to Hispaniola or Veracruz, Mexico, the biggest slave port in the Western Hemisphere, Veracruz. I've been to Veracruz, right? I've been to Yanga, Veracruz, right? So I went there to witness where so many of our ancestors came, whether it was from the Iberian Peninsula or whether it was from the motherland. In any event, from Angola to Brazil in about 35 to 45 days. You're talking about 4 weeks with the favorable current, right? So these people are trying to act like this was when the first people realized there was land on the other side of the Atlantic, and that no one had the technology prior to those trips to get from the Americas to Africa, and to get from Africa to the Americas. But if you go into the Canary Current, let me see. I'm finna search that one. The Canary Current. Boom. Damn, why is it doing that? Hold on. My thing is messing up. Hold on.
Track baby, got another one.
Duse M, BT.
Jump on it, jump on it, jump on it. Jump on it, jump on it.
never popped a Molly, but if I ever catch Mac, I'ma pop a Holly. I don't even rob a cop the Harley. Blowing so much green, I shame Marley. Yeah, I push the line to its full limit. Hit the hole like 22, boy, I'm a young Emmett. Nothing go like snow, now that's a cold image. Still whistling, sending, knocking them white women. Only reason I do it to avenge Emmett. Till the day they go before they knock me out. Knowing me, it don't matter, I simply take my route. On my hobby.
On it right now. One of my YouTube buddies just asked me, what he say? He said, wanted to know, have you been hearing about all of these racial things that the essays been pushing on the internet, right? In California. So I'm making sure that he know that we on. But look, so back to the education, and then I'll break down the Southern. We're gonna finish that video, and I'm gonna break down race relations in my generation. You know what I'm saying? My generation, we grew up fighting the essays. We used to take advantage of them, honestly, because most of them didn't know how to fight. You had some that grew up with us, had the experience, and fought just as good as us, if not could beat some blacks. You know what I'm saying? Very rarely, but they definitely had riders, even back then. Win, lose, or draw. But we used to rob them, all kind of other stuff. So I understand where some of the hate come from, but I also understand the dynamics that the MA utilize that hate to make us the bad guy in their easily attempt to extort their own people. You know what I'm saying? And so we'll get into that. Let me go ahead and share this real quick. We gotta share this real quick because I like to build more than I like to destroy. But if we're gonna tear this motherfucker down, and we're gonna tear it all the way down, believe that. But now you talking about teaching us our history, and you were taught your history by your colonizer. And then you probably got some kind of research, word of mouth, and all of that from your ancestors and all of that, and which is no different from us. Getting information from our ancestors, allowing them to know that we've been here, right? And so first I want to go to the capabilities and the Canary current, right? So we finna get up here first, right? And what is this one? Okay, so boom. Yes, the Mandinka Mali ships of the 14th century, you're talking about the 1300s, could have ridden the Canary Current to the Americas because the current itself naturally carries vessels westward. So, and their shipbuilding traditions were structurally capable of long distance Atlantic travel. The Canary Current makes West Africa to America's travel physically easy. The Canary Current flows from the West African coast, Senegal, Gambia, Mali's coastal access via the Mandinka, straight to South America and the Caribbean. This same current later allowed Columbus to cross using small caravels, Portuguese caravels, to reach Brazil by accident. Any seaworthy vessel, including pre-modern African craft, to drift or intentionally ride the current west. African craft, a pre-modern African craft, could make it to the Americas on an accident, right? If a ship leaves Senegambia at the right season, the current itself will carry it to the Americas, even if the sailors do minimal navigation. So this whole theory of how hard it would be for travel between the Americas and the motherland of Africa is overstated. And there's a reason for that. There's a narrative for that. And one of them was to undermine the mental capabilities and sophistication of the people in Africa, and the mental and physical capability, the mental mathematical, scientific achievements of those in the Americas. The first pyramid was built in the Americas, in Peru. Y'all not hearing me, bro. So y'all honestly are naive enough to believe that some people who never met these people in Peru, who never had any kind of conversations or dialogue with these peoples in Peru who built the first pyramid, just built the pyramid of Giza, built pyramids all throughout Kush, modern Sudan. I think Sudan has like 800 pyramids built, and they not as sophisticated as others, and you know what I'm saying, and they're not even the same style. But yeah, the Kushites. But anyway, a large West African seagoing canoe. These were multi-ton hardware ships, up to 60 plus feet long, described in early Portuguese accounts, sometimes double-hulled or stabilized, equipped with sails, paddles, and deep keels, strong enough for Atlantic fishing, which involves serious swells. So you guys are acting as if West Africans didn't have ships pre-colonization of Africa in the Atlantic Ocean. They already had that technology. That technology was already sophisticated enough to do that. Portuguese chroniclers of the 15th century were shocked at the large size and seaworthiness of Mandinka ocean canoes. B, evidence of massive fleets under Mali. Arab historian Al-Umari recorded that Mensa Abu Bakr II built a fleet of 200 ships, then a second fleet of 2,000 ships with supplies. Al-Umari was relaying testimony from Mansa Musa himself. Even if these numbers are exaggerated, it shows that Mali had the resources and shipbuilding tradition to launch major ocean expeditions. They knew about the Canary Current. So when North Africans, the Moors, crossed the ocean with elephants into Spain and conquered Spain and Portugal and these other places, those mosques that are now churches, those synagogues that are now churches built by the Moors, those schools and libraries of knowledge, the same knowledge that was housed and derived from Timbuktu, the same knowledge that was passed down from the Dogon about Sirius II and astrology, when it wasn't until the 20th century that the people teaching you your history even knew about Sirius II up in space. It came from ancient Kemet. It came from the Andean Mountains, South America. That's why a lot of these countries' libraries are being destroyed, plundered, so that you don't have the knowledge of a four, so they can act as if they were the ones who knew all of this all alone and discovered America, discovered all of these things. In any event, let me finish about this. Were those ships capable of transatlantic voyage? Yes, because size and construction. West African hardwood ships were stronger than European pine caravels. Buoyancy and stability. Dugout hulls carved from massive trunks are incredibly durable and stable in open water. Sailing traditions. Mandinka and related peoples fished in deep ocean zones. They weren't confined to rivers. Ocean winds and current make the trip easy. The Canary Current and northeast trade winds push ships across with minimal tacking. 5. Comparable vessels made similar trips. They credit the Polynesians, they credit the Vikings, and Europeans all cross oceans in ships no more advanced than what West Africans had built. But they want to insult you as if the people in Africa or the people over here didn't have the wherewithal, civilization, knowledge, or technology to be able to understand the Canary Current and its gravitational pull into the southern hemisphere, or the wherewithal to understand that the planet was round. They understood that the Dogons were able to understand and discover Sirius 2 in the sky without the telescopes and technology of today. But they didn't understand the circumference of the planet Earth. The pyramids in Gaza, in Egypt, in Giza, the pyramid in Giza, if you spread the map and all land across would be the middle of the globe. It's particularly set up in a place specific with the placement of the moon and the sun, etc. This is not just made up off of me. They definitely understood more than just architecture. They understood the circumference of the planet, of the stars, the moon, where they stood within this big thing that we call the galaxy. But they didn't know that 9,000 miles away, these people over here were also building pyramids before then. Yeah, I don't believe that. But scientific oceanography travel time using only the Canary Current and northeast trade winds, Senegal to Brazil would be 30 to 45 days. That's a month time travel. Senegal to the Caribbean will be 45 to 60 days. Small ancient boats have drifted the same route in 30 to 50 days. Small ancient boats have drifted in 30 to 50 days during experiments. So a Mandinka vessel absolutely could reach the Americas even by passive drift, supporting archaeological and cultural clues. While not definitive, several indications hint at pre-Columbian West African visits. Columbus's own logs mention seeing black people in the Caribbean and gold spearheads matching West African alloys. So, and the crazy thing is that the gold spearheads is a mix only found in West Africa, right? It's a mix. It's like copper, gold, and whatever. What is it called? Guanin. Let me see what guanin says so I could better explain it to y'all. Guanin. So it's a chemical compound. How do they spell it? Let me see. Guanin. How do you spell it properly? Spears. How do they spell that? G-U-N. Guanin. It's a Mandinka word, and that's the same thing that they call that's the same thing that they call wait, what were the spears, the Americans the indigenous Americans showed Christopher Columbus so those were the Taínos. We're finna grab this real quick. Hold on.
Track daily, got another one.
Duse M, PT.
Jump on it, jump on it, jump on it. Jump on it, jump on it.
Jump on it, ride it like jockeys. The hell smoking that loud, lace the yak with mouth. Make your mama proud, popping it like shot. Turn up, it's a gangster party.
PT ain't never popped a Mari, but if I ever catch Mac, I'ma pop a Holly. I don't even rob a cop the Harley. Blowing so much green, I shame Marley. Yeah, I push the line to its full limit. Hit the hole like 22, boy, I'm a young image. Nothing go like snow, now that's a cold image. Still whistling, sending, knocking them white women. Only reason I do it to avenge image. Till the day they go before any box me out. Knowing me, it don't matter, I simply change my route. On my hobby.
Salute. So it's guanin, right? Pardon of what you call it. GUANIN is an alloy of copper, gold, and silver, similar to red gold, used in pre-Columbian Central America. The name guanin is taken from the language of the Taíno people. What the? My phone is just tripping over here, bro. Probably the feds hacked my shit, bro. Damn, that's crazy. So the guanin is the name taken from the language of the Taíno people, who prize it for its reddish color, brilliant shine, and unique smell, and associated it with both worldly and supernatural powers. It was also known as Tagagua, and in South America as Tumbanga. The Spanish referred to it as logo, distinguished it from items made with a higher purity of gold. So let me see. Guanin is composed of copper, gold, and silver. Spanish royal assayers in 1498 found that samples of guanin sent to them by Christopher Columbus were 18 parts gold, 6 parts silver, and 8 parts copper of 32 parts total. This amounts to approximately 56% gold, 18% silver, and 25% copper. Western explorers initially believed that guanin was a naturally occurring alloy. However, modern analysis have shown that the copper levels in guanin are consistently high, in excess of 25%, which indicates that high heat smelting must have been used to create the alloy. So that's off of okay, so let's see where that was. The Journal of Bartolome de las Casas, Black Conquistador, right? Made during the third voyage of Christopher Columbus in 1498, relates that Columbus had heard reports from local peoples that there had come to Hispaniola from the south and the southeast a black people who have the tops of their spears made of a metal which they call guanin. So guanin is also a name of, so that was in Cuba, right? And they said from east of Cuba would be the motherland. South and east of Cuba would be West Africa. So when this guy tells us about our culture, brother, you don't even got a clue. So let me make sure that y'all do understand that guanin. Okay, so what does guanin mean in African language? Because did I spell that right? Hold on, let me see. My spelling on this is terrible. Wait, I think it's Mandinka. Does guanin damn, I done messed it up. But anyway, we spending too much time on that. We gonna get over it. So I think it's the Malinke or the Mende, one of those languages utilizes and calls guanin the exact same thing as those people in Hispaniola. You know what I'm saying? When you do your research about our culture. So you can't tell us what you can't tell us about our culture, brother. There's a whole lot more that we could tell you that you can't tell us, because you're going to argue what your colonizer taught you, plus what your people told you, and we're going to be able to add to that with what our ancestors told us. And you think we're going to believe you, or we going to believe our people? It's very clear from what I told you how easy the travel between the Americas and Africa would be, especially utilizing the Canary Current. So to believe that maybe you inherited white supremacy as an ideology, you and your homeboys are even allies with white supremacists such as the skinheads and the Aryan Brotherhood and the Nazi lowriders. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you like their rendition of history. Maybe that makes you feel more comfortable. But let's get back to the content. You know what I'm saying? I ain't forgot about it. I just had to delve off into that when somebody tries to teach us our history, let alone our enemy. Let's go.
Right now, what you're dealing with right now is a trend, homie. You're stuck in a trend, in a gang mentality, homie. This has nothing to do with gangs. This has nothing to do with gangs, homie.
Make that shit make sense. I'm gonna learn something about a black culture from Hispanic. Make that make sense, bro. Make that shit make sense.
I'll make a whole lot of sense with it.
Come on, bro. That shit don't even sound correct.
You're in your feelings right now, and you're emotional. That's what it is. You're emotional, and you don't know how to deal with it.
Tell a black man about
you don't know how to deal with it.
Ain't nobody
Imagine the galls of a Hispanic telling you, "Let me teach you your history." If that's not white supremacy or imitating it because they're not white, you know what I'm saying? They're a race of mulattoes. You know what I'm saying? They're mulattoes, bro, mestizos, right? Let's get to
black.
It.
Tell a black man about black culture, and you non-black. It don't work.
Imagine me telling Mexicans, nah, listen, you in your feelings because I'm telling you about your race, about your culture. Imagine me telling a Mexican that, or telling a Puerto Rican that. I'm quite sure there's some things I might could add if he's very well studied, but he hasn't offered not one fact that he can prove that these brothers didn't know that he knows about black culture, about black culture. Imagine the galls this motherfucker got. He's fucked up mentally, bro. Of course you disrespect someone and tell them how you're going to tell them their history. Let's go.
Black? So you're
It don't
black?
work like that.
Are you black?
feel me?
Are you black?
Hold on. I don't want to mute y'all. Look, the fact that you just asked this man, what does Asia have to do with Mexican culture? That let me know you ain't studied enough.
Dang.
He don't know.
So how
Hold
can
on,
you tell us about our
Both
culture?
you guys are just piggybacking off of it. Asian has nothing to do with our culture. The Barren Straits got nothing to do with our culture.
Go look at
So
where
you
y'all
talk,
migrate.
hold on, you
Where
talking
y'all
about
exist.
the burn. Hold on, you talking about the
You,
burn straight.
and talking about man, you guys are mixed up, man. You guys are mixed up.
Ancestors of
We
the
talking
Mexicans,
about the
they
Pacific
migrated
slave
slaves,
trade from Asians being enslaved in colonial Mexico. Do you not know about the Treaty
Okay,
of Condado?
listen. What do you talk? Of course I do. Of course I do. I talk about it on my show. Maybe you don't know who I am, but I talk about all that on my show.
Well, I don't
What
know
this
about
has
your
to
show.
deal with, what this has to deal with, is a Russian dude
Guess what?
disrespecting you guys and
Maurice,
using the words from a movie. A movie that was put out. That's what it has to deal with. You deal with that person as a man. You deal with that person as a man, not a whole neighborhood, homie. You don't want that war. Don't do that. Don't do that.
What war? Bro?
What war? You guys declared war a long time ago and ain't moved nothing. You niggas killed a bunch of innocent civilians. What you mean? Nobody wants war. War is bad for business. What do you mean we don't want that war? The Hoovers been beefing with the Softlosis. They said the 11 Deuce Hoovers was gone. I seen them on Imperial in Normandy about 5-6 months ago, gang thick. In them apartments right off Budlong, gang thick. The Salos, gang thick. The Longos and the Insanes and the Babies in the 20s. I seen that war. They're still standing. What do you mean they don't want that war? We could push it. We could exact same thing we could put out, we could dish out. We proved that for almost 3 decades, bro. What are you talking about? Y'all got crash dummies. Y'all got riders. What do you mean? Y'all don't want that war. Y'all, the Venice choke line Crips war with the Venice Thresades and the Culver City Thresades in the paperwork. The Mexican Mafia called in reinforcements from the Valley in East LA to help ride because they was getting their ass toe up. The fuck you mean y'all don't want that war? In war, everybody lose, homie. But y'all took a whole lot of losses. And y'all targeted a lot of innocent people. What are you talking about? Y'all don't want that war. Now, as far as you saying the Russian dude using a racial slur from a movie is where the issue derived from. No, the issue derives first and foremost that y'all would allow or make a Russian feel that comfortable on your platform because of your racist ideals embedded into your politics as a Southsider. That been the motherfucking problem. Y'all inherited. What was the word that they used about the greaser culture? Assimilation into America and white supremacy and adopting those ideals. You're psychologically fucked up. That's where the problem begins. Because if you understand and you feel that, well, y'all don't want that war, that's the problem. You think for some reason, somebody that made you believe that the 18th Street Rancho Park lost a motherfucking hood in the jungles, lost the motherfucking park behind Dorsey in a war against the Black Peace Stones, rolling 20s in the Bloods. You forgot that? I'm just speaking on what you're talking about. Y'all don't want that war. You're 100% right, bro. Black people beef with each other with tribal people, but we want peace. But don't never get that fucked up. Because when you wake that motherfucking that sleeping bear up, I'm quite sure a lot of Southsiders can vouch whether it was in the state pen, the LA County Jail, California Youth Authorities, 20 to 40. Southsiders got the numbers and lose 25 to 100 against the Southsiders. Southsiders lose. I'm not talking about something I wasn't there for. I'm telling you about something I've experienced, nigga. Pushing knife up in you niggas. Facts, nigga. Dead homies. Fuck is you talking about? 2,600 day room, nigga. 99 riots in LA County Jail. What are you talking about? You talk about when we could go to every hood, 38th Street and the Pueblos. Nigga, it's losses on both sides. Don't nobody want war. But don't you ever in your motherfucking white supremacist, psychologically inept, fucked up mind think that a nigga ever gonna accept any disrespect from a motherfucking Mahinde. A nigga claiming to be a gangster, but being extorted by an old dope fiend, nigga. Ever. Y'all got us fucked up. That's the narrative and propaganda that they embed in these dumbass niggas' minds. Do you guys got rioters? Facts. Are you guys organized? Facts. Do you guys got torpedoes that dumb as a motherfucker that's gonna do whatever dumb shit they want for rank or acceptance? Fact. Do you guys control or dictate the Bloods program? Never. Do you guys control and dictate the Crips program? Never. You niggas control your program. You niggas control, depending on where they at, Pipe Size program, depending on where you at, some of the Asians program, as well as other and white boys program, depending on where you at. Sometimes the white boys are more independent, depending on who running the yard. On the streets, do y'all control the Hoover's neighborhood? Do South Losses control and patrol the Hoovers? Hell no. Do the east side or west side Longos control and patrol the babies, the insanes, or the 20s hood? Hell no. Do you guys control, do we control East LA? No, it's like 99% Hispanics. The Valley, highly populated with Hispanics. Those are your strongholds. But on the streets, in the state penitentiary, and definitely not in the federal penitentiary, where we done pushed up on Mexican mafias with our knives out, and they told us, hey, let us handle this situation, because your homeboy Negro was talking about it's going to go up if he didn't get his fix because he owed some Crips. So he wanted his fix, but he's saying that he got to pay the Crips with it. And when the homie didn't go for it, niggas pushed up on them niggas and surrounded them niggas with our knives out, nigga. Matter of fact, y'all ain't got to believe me, nigga. My code E is out. You know what I'm saying? These niggas got the caucasity. That's that white mind in your brown behind, brother. You guys don't want that war. Nobody wants war. But nigga, we don't look for it. But when it come our way, we embrace that shit, nigga. It is what it is. Hold on, man. Let me get the Cody on real quick, right? Oh, y'all gonna love this. This gonna be exclusive. I'm gonna make sure you know I'm recording them so he don't say nothing. Baby bomb. Man, y'all gonna hit that like button, man. Bang that like button. Let me see what it is, man. I'll type it in. Maybe it'll pop up like that. Baby bomb. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Let's see. Watch this. Oh, he might be at work. Damn, he might be at work. Let me try one more time. Because he gonna so you know that it's important. Because it's real brief, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he at work. He probably can't talk. He would have been picked up. But in any event, he was the one. You know what I'm saying? And when he came in and told us what the Mexican mob said, obviously we understand the threat when he's making the threat that he gonna kick it off with the Crips, and then the Crips and Bloods run together in Victorville. So when he said that, we coming through the metal detectors, beep, 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 beep. What's happening? What you talking about? Huh? What? Nah. One of your other big homies came out. Hey, what's going on? Hold on. He said this and this and this and that. Hey, look, let us handle that. With all due respect, my knife is out at the time, in my hand. And that was handled out of respect for another one of your G homies, big homies. What you mean we don't want war? We accept zero disrespect. It's going to be mutual respect or it's going to be war. It's been that way, going to stay that way. So what's changed to make you think that it's no peace? I just left Pomona Mike in New Delano. When them brothers got out from 2014 from behind the walls, after the ruling in 2014 when niggas laid it down, Mexicans really initiated that. You know what I'm saying? The food hunger strike. Them and the lawyers, but the lawyers were dealing with Jamas and all kind of other people. But they coordinated this for a purpose to get those people from back there. Since then, it had been a peace treaty. That's why it wasn't so many race riots as previously before. They didn't want them to put them back in there and say they was caged. So that's prison, and on the streets, there is no structure. On the streets, niggas do what the fuck they want to do. They don't even listen to their own homies. The fuck they look like listening and taking orders from a Sureño. You niggas can get it like the next nigga can get it. The fuck? But this is the mentality. I'm glad he showed that. White supremacist ideals.
Bro,
I'm saying because you're calling out all the Southsiders, homie.
Yeah,
you're saying
of course. If you're talking about and permitting racial epithets on your podcast, you deserve to be held accountable also, because you should have checked that shit.
You're disrespecting the whole car. Don't do that.
War, bro. We're not the only blacks in the world, bro.
I'm not saying that. But you don't want to do that, bro. You don't want to do that.
Tell me what
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
You can't tell me what I want to do. I want to do exactly what I'm doing and speaking up for my people. The same way y'all speak up for
then speak up for your people. Then teach them then.
So
then teach them. Because I'm doing that. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. A fucking movie link. It was a movie reference. Where in that conversation did he reference the movie?
What did he say?
You know what he said. You
okay? Where did he get that line from?
I can't tell you because he never referenced the movie in that combo.
He doesn't have to reference the movie, but he heard it from somewhere, right?
I don't give a fuck where he heard it from.
The bottom line. Listen, listen, Viral.
Racist. Listen, I heard a lot of derogatory racist words.
I did too.
Towards the Mexican community in movies. That don't mean I'm gonna get on my podcast and say them and say, well, I heard that in a fucking movie.
Okay, then address that man in his podcast, not a neighborhood. Not a neighborhood.
No, I'm addressing that whole culture because that whole culture is trying to get involved in our culture while saying we don't fuck with your culture. So why are you trying to be a part of it?
Hey, respect to the Viral Way podcast. Salute to you, King. First and foremost, you don't tell me who and what to address. Of course, the Russian needs to be addressed, who said it. But there's a bigger underlying issue that he's saying he's addressing, and you up there, he wanted to make sure he addressed this with you. Let's go.
So then you're the racist then. You're the one saying.
So he's the racist then. Ain't that the tea kettle calling the skillet black? Nasty
that you
word.
don't fuck with our culture, right? That's what you just said.
What? Tell me where.
I fuck with people. A lot of Southsiders, whether they're in jail or they're on the street, behave differently. Their experience, shout out to my brother, rest in peace, was a Southsider from 18th Street. My sister, still alive, is a Southsider from 18th Street. My nephew is a Southsider from Southflows. If you can't tell, I'm a mutt. But with that even being said, those people that I deal with, they're in South Central, and majority of them grew up with blacks. The same way I grew up next to Natalie, next to Coco, Sylvia, Lupe. Across the street from Veronica and them, they were El Salvadorians. Around the corner from Yara, they were Nicaraguan. And a lot of Belizeans in my neighborhood. We grew up in poverty, similar struggles, coming from nothing. I could go in their house, and they'll have a stack full of tortillas, and I'm hungry, and they'll put them on the stove, hot stove, and flip them over, put butter on them, and put salt. That's all we had. And we could eat as many as we wanted to at Coco and Sylvia in them house. Their brother Garvino, right? That's how close we grew up in proximity with Mexicans in our community. They never showed me any kind of racial difference, and I could eat with them. Now, naturally, because you've inherited racist ideals from skinheads and Aryan brotherhoods and peg leg Joe Morgan, who helped formulate the structure today known as the MA. You guys take up rules of segregation. You guys take up rules that you can't eat with a black, based upon stereotypes that blacks are dirty, blacks are nasty. And you want to call this brother who said he's addressing the racist culture within the Southern United Race Movement and call him a racist. These is the kind of balls that this motherfucker got. You're going to call him a racist. You are nobody to speak with a moral compass, nigga. What the fuck? A moral compass. When you represent an organization with such ideals, racist ideals, but got the galls to say, well, you're the one racist. Is that what you really believe? Or is that a scream for help? Because you don't want to accept the reality that you and your organization have been pushing hate towards our people from the top down for over the last 20 to 30. Now, can you say that we've been racist towards you guys first? I can't speak on when first was, but I could say, yeah, we couldn't rob black people in our community. I was homeless. So who else was around us? Crime by proximity. Every 1st and the 15th, I would rob your people. Looking back, I understand how wrong I was. How struggling those same families had to suffer, missing Christmas gifts for the kids, meals for the kids, because they come with nothing. In hindsight, I understand it was survival, but in hindsight, some of the only few regrets I got because I played a part in the creating a hate, the hate that hate produced. So let's finish.
Didn't you just say that?
Tell me where I said that.
Right now, you just said, repeat what you said.
I said
That you don't fuck with our culture.
That whole South Side thing where she said, I can't date a black because it's against the rules. That culture wants to rap. That culture gets on our podcast. That culture gets co-signs from our rappers to make money and be a part of our culture. And we welcome y'all with open arms. But
who's we? Who's we?
Who we? Anybody?
Who's we, homie?
Anybody
you're not the one making a deal. You're not the one signing. You're not a producer. Who are you?
I don't give a fuck. If you black, I'm black. So it's a part of my
You're not even black. So what are you talking about? Why don't you learn the definition of the word that you're using? Fool, you're brown.
I know the word. I already said it earlier in the show. Yeah, it means dead and not a human and all that.
Okay, look it. That's all I'm gonna say, homie. Don't drag gang shit into it. If she said that statement, then that's what she said. And if that Russian dude said that statement, then hold that man accountable, fool. Don't bring gang shit or politics into it. That's all I'm gonna say, dog. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's what you do.
You're gonna get a lot of youngsters hurt that watch you, bro. That's what you're gonna do.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are, because people are gonna try to make a point out of your emotions. That's why.
Ain't that what I just said? Yeah, look, he running now.
People are gonna try to make a point. So you make a point, then some youngsters that don't give a fuck retaliate and make a bigger point. What's your point? Don't nobody move on threats and intimidation, but you busters getting extorted, nigga. Ain't that a bitch? Threats and intimidation only works with cowards, nigga. Handle your candle. What you gonna do? Do it, homie. Fuck you mean? Oh, you're gonna get some people hurt. People hurt because he's standing and holding the whole accountable. Y'all lost y'all rabbit ass mind. But let me show y'all some of this stuff, because I got something just for his motherfucking ass, and we gonna flame his motherfucking ass up. You know what I'm saying? Let's go to this real quick. Little 4-minute video. Let's go to the Barrio Avenues. This is what the brother, the Viral Way podcast was holding accountable. The whole culture of Sureños who pushed that racial bullshit. Oh, I didn't get to finish that. So people who never acted with that racial, towards us, of course, if we're not racist, we're not going to have a problem with them. Of course, we're going to have a good interaction with them and great things to say about them. But for those who adopted the racial aspects of that culture, who don't call out racism when they see it, whenever you allow racism and discrimination a place to hide, a home, you harbor that, that's where injustice stands. Ain't no more allowing you motherfuckers to act like y'all cool. He calling that shit out. And so be it. People die every day. So be it. If your big homies want to push that button, they could push that button. But just remember, that shit goes two ways, bro. It's a two-way street. And right now, y'all lost a lot of numbers on them S and Y yards because of the hard line that y'all push. Inner politics between y'allself. Y'all not as unified as y'all claim to be, bro. But to the brother from Viral Way podcast, just so y'all know, bro, we used to patrol our hoods like my generation. It was a lot different. Our hood, every block out in the set, I could go to a homie house or multiple different homies that stayed on each block in the set. You know what I'm saying? Heavy recruiting and all of that. And every day, what we did, we got our flags, we creased up, we flagged, we got on the handlebars and the bike, and we patrolled, we hit niggas up every single day of our life. That's what gangbanging was about, to protect our community. Peep out what's going on in the community. Who's who? Oh, you just moved up over here. You know where you at? You know what I'm saying? Regulating. If you guys want to have this voice, y'all niggas gonna have to troop. Y'all gotta be trooping, bro. Y'all gotta communicate, because what they do, well, you finna see what they do. Let's get into it, bro. That just based upon your race, this is how the South Sides move. You go to their hood, which is predominantly Hispanic, maybe avenues over there. I'd be surprised if 1% of that population over there is black. The nigger, do you guys want to kill him? Not there go a blood, not there go a crip, there goes a nigger. Do you want to kill him? Just based upon them being black. This is how the South Side moves. And y'all talk, and this dude is a South Sider talking about you're a racist to the viral
most ruthless Hispanic.
Not gangsters, innocent blacks. What a coward. What cowards targeting innocent blacks? You niggas supposed to be big bad gangsters with all of the gangbangers in LA, the homes of the Crips and Bloods, South Central Los Angeles. Then you got Compton, you got Watts, you got West LA, you got Long Beach, you got Hawthorne, Inglewood, all of these cities full of gangbangers that's black, that's looking to give you that smoke. You target innocents. See, that's terrorism. It's cowardly, and it's terrorism from someone afraid of a different kind of battle. But hey, if that's what they want in the streets, I mean, there's more of them in Los Angeles than us, so it's going to be a whole bunch of different targets. If that's what they want, you could go outside anytime and find a whole bunch of targets if you want to target innocent people. Sometimes a necessary evil is necessary. You know what I'm saying? But an eye for an eye, funerals on the Sabbath, bro. That's just what it really is. It ain't no cutting corners on that. Let's go to let me get to this real quick, right? So we got some other videos. So that was the Avenues game. Sureños, you know what I'm saying? That's they get down. Knocking down innocent blacks just for being black. Sound like the Ku Klux Klan, right? Right. So we're going to get back to this content. Let me go ahead and pull a video up first. You know what I'm saying? Because I sent a lot of different stuff, all that stuff I read. You know what I'm saying? I sent all of that to y'all, right? No, that ain't it. Boom. Let's go to the east side, East Coast. Shout out to the Florencians in the East Coast for finding a way to they got some real good leadership. They have some real good leadership over there, bro, to finally put those put their beef to side and have a ceasefire. I'm not trying to open old wounds over there. I understand. Listen, bro, a real general always puts his troops in the best position to win. And win doesn't mean being in jail.
Pedal Commander is offering $50 off this
doesn't
Christmas
mean
season.
Being in jail for
long dress code, you're going to get shot. Black people, you got braids out, long hair, you want to get shot too. That's the way it is. 69th Street and Hooper.
Nah, no, not right now. I can't see it stopping until everyone's dead.
Welcome to Boys in the Hood TV. Today we are tapping into one of the most deadliest gang wars ever in California. The East Coast Crips versus Florencia 13. In 2007, a gangland feud in the Florence Firestone district of Los Angeles gained national attention for its brutality and racial overtones. This was one of the region's worst gang conflicts since the early 1990s, and its impact on the community was devastating. Over several years, dozens of people were killed, many of them innocent bystanders, as the predominantly African-American East Coast Crips and the predominantly Latino Florencia 13 battled for territory and supremacy. What began as a drug trade rivalry spiraled into a vicious cycle of retaliation that some residents describe bluntly as a race war between Black and Latino gang members. The East Coast Crips are a collective of Crip gang sets on Los Angeles' east side, with the history tracing back to the 1970s. They are part of the Crips Alliance founded by Raymond Washington, and over time, East Coast came to denote several allied Crip sets, such as the 6-pack East Coast Crips, 76 East Coast Crips, and 89 East Coast Crips in South Central LA. These gangs are primarily African American and grew during the 1980s crack epidemic and gang expansion. By the 2000s, East Coast Crip cliques were active in the Florence Firestone area, often just called Florence by locals, historically a Black neighborhood. However, demographic shifts dramatically changed Florence Firestone. Over the 1980s and 1990s, Latino residents became the majority, creating overlap of Black and brown communities in the same turf. East Coast Crip sets that once dominated the area saw their influence challenged as Latino gangs grew in. Despite racial differences, older gang members recall that in the early 1990s, Crips and Latino gangs mostly ignored each other, focusing on rivalries within their own ethnic group. We grew up with them.
That's a
It's
fact.
hard to just start killing someone because he's Black, one veteran F-13 member said of the East Coast Crips, noting that for years there was no serious beef between.
So Florencia said, we grew up with them. It's hard to just kill somebody because they're Black. To kill this Black guy just because he's Black. But this is what they were doing. Let's get to it.
Them. But all that changed in the late 1990s and early 2000s as external forces pushed these gangs into direct conflict. Florencia 13, also known as Florence 13 or F13, is an old and large Mexican-American street gang based in the Florence area of South Los Angeles. The gang's roots go back to at least the 1960s, and possibly earlier. Some sources say it originated post-World War II in the late 1940s. The name comes from Florence Avenue, a major street in their territory, and the number 13 signifies allegiance to the Mexican Mafia, La M, a powerful prison gang. In fact, Florencia 13 has long been closely tied to the Mexican Mafia. Many early Mexican Mafia members were recruited out of Florencia, and F13 proudly carries the 13 to denote that connection. By the 2000s, F13 had become one of LA's largest gangs, estimated 2,000 plus members, with cliques throughout South LA and even out-of-state offshoots. They financed themselves primarily through drug trafficking and had a reputation for ferocity. F13 built an image of being especially ruthless and treacherous fighters. Florencia 13 historically had bitter feuds with other Latino gangs like the 38th Street Gang, but by the late 90s, they were compelled by the Mexican Mafia to make peace with Latino rivals. According to the streets, the feud kicked off when the East Coast Crips decided to rob Florencia 13 of drugs.
Starts off with drugs, it was getting short on our connections. So we decided to go rob these people and get some dope. And that's what it really jumped off at.
Word spread that the Mexican Mafia had issued a green light on East Coast Crips, essentially a standing order sanctioning any Hispanic gang member to attack or kill any ECC member on site.
Informants tell Fox 11 News the Mexican Mafia is now pressing all Florencia cliques to seek revenge for the stolen drugs.
By 2004, Arturo Castellanos, the Mexican Mafia member who controlled F13 from a Pelican Bay prison cell, was explicitly ordering his street soldiers to begin cleansing Florence Firestone of Black gangsters, notably the East Coast Crips. Multiple Florencia insiders later testified that Castellanos' letters from prison in 2004 had triggered a wave of violence unlike.
So they got the actual kites, right? And they people snitching on them because obviously all of these Southsiders, Sureños, aren't racist, bro. Like you've seen some of them saying it's hard to kill a nigga just because he black, but under threat and intimidation from powerful Mexican mafias giving orders, they're going to do it. If not, they get what's called green lighted. That means if any Florencias went to the county jail and they weren't out here active and they weren't fulfilling the orders, they get a boo-bop crew that's going to jump on them in the dorm. They have to pay extra rent on the streets and in jail to be there, right? On top of that, because all of the other gangs that's run by the Mexican mafia would jump on them and put together the boo-bop crew. Or they'll send crews to green light them and bust on their homies on the streets. Knock down those that are rebelling against such an order from the Mexican mafia. So a lot of them have to move for survival, not because they're naturally racist. I know a lot of them like that. Robbers. But they love us. Those that I'm talking about love us. And then you got those that hate us. They want to be like us, but they don't want to be like us. It's hard to walk in them chucks. It's hard to be against all odds, where everybody hates you, envies you, intimidated by you. And salute to those brothers, man. I think y'all, especially this new era, I think y'all have to be more vocal and stand on what y'all believing on. Y'all got to stand on what y'all standing on. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, you're going to be drawn into it because the blacks ain't went for that, ain't going for that, and we're still here. I just showed y'all 300 and something thousand years later, with everybody wanting to unalive us, persecute us, enslave us. From the Iberian Peninsula, Africa, those indigenous to this land, as I said, we're indigenous to earth. Those indigenous to this land, everywhere we go, people revel, hate us, love us, but we survived. Why weren't we exterminated? Why haven't our oppressors killed us off like a lot of the tribes that were killed off? There's a reason. Y'all got to stand up. But yeah, they telling on the Mexican mafia that the Mexican mafia is forcing them to kill innocent blacks.
Anything the area has seen.
23-year-old Brian Thomas pulls his car into a neighborhood liquor store to buy a pack of cigarettes. Detectives say Thomas is a good kid who works as a UPS driver and goes to night school. But he's about to die. Riding in the passenger seat is a casual friend from the neighborhood, 24-year-old Lewis Mobley. Mobley, a parolee well known on the streets as Kane, is a member of the East Coast Crips. Investigators believe this unidentified killer, probably here selling drugs in the parking lot, is from a rival gang called Florencia 13. He slowly walks off to pick up a hidden gun. Coming back out of the store is about to be one of them. The Florencia gangster, now armed, steps out of the darkness and rocks the car with bullets. Thomas drags himself into the liquor store and dies. Kane Mobley tries to run, but drops dead here in the parking lot.
Florencia 13 wasn't the only instigator. East Coast Crips also contributed to rising tensions.
This teenage East Coast Crip says that's the way it is.
They been killing our soldiers, we've been killing their soldiers, cuz whatever go down, but hey, that's how life goes.
Leonardo Valdivia were best friends out for a night in the town. It would be their last. Their car was shot up on the way home. Both died at the scene.
The victims were not gang members. They're actually very good citizens, own business. In my opinion, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Detectives believe a brown pride sticker on the windshield drew the attention of two East Coast Crips depicted in these composite sketches.
It's important to note that not everyone accepted the label of a one-sided racial purge. Some Florencia 13 members insisted the conflict was 50-50, that both sides were equally at fault, and that the 13 wasn't out to kill every black person. Florencia gang member named Robert Ramirez told a reporter in 2007, "I'm not going to say we're angels, but any black shoot on sight. It's not true. Nobody likes a racist person." He implied that Florencia's beef was with the East Coast Crips gang specifically, and those seen as helping them, not all African Americans. From 2004 through 2007, the Florence-Firestone area saw an eruption of shootings and murders as the East Coast and the 13 War raged. One of the first high-profile attacks, Florencia 13 members went on the hunt in East Coast Crip territory. For 13 gangsters, Emmanuel Romero, the driver, and Mario Spy Marino, the gunman, rode into a liquor store parking lot near 89th Street, deep in 89 East Coast Crips turf. Marino opened fire with a rifle, shooting two black men who were simply standing outside talking. Daryl Denard was killed, and Robert King, 38, was seriously wounded. Neither victim had any gang affiliation. Romero and Marino were later convicted. The year 2005 was especially deadly. In an 18-month span, January 2004 through June 2005, overlapping this period, gang shootings left over 40 people dead and 200 wounded. Mid-2005, the LA County Sheriff's Department launched a major task force to stem the bloodshed. From April to December 2005, the task force made 230 felony arrests and seized 130 guns in the area. They specifically targeted the Warren gang members, and by the end of 2005, over 50 gang members, Florencia 13 and East Coast, were charged with murder, attempted murder, or ADW. In October 2007, the U.S. Attorney's Office announced sweeping indictments targeting Florencia 13's leadership and soldiers. This was part of a multi-agency initiative codenamed Operation Joker's Wild. Federal and local law enforcement has spent over a year building a racketeering RICO case against Florencia 13, aiming to dismantle the gang's infrastructure, which they blame for the race-driven violence. 102 members and associates of Florencia 13 were indicted by a federal grand jury.
So they get indicted. They try to deny it was racial and that it was just the East Coasters, but then they get indicted for ethnic cleansing, that they were shooting innocent people that are black. Like Marvelous Black. What is black? Bro, we know what it is. I'm using that term because it's real easy and short. Let's go.
13 had become a major drug wholesaler in the area, controlling meth and crack cocaine sales in Florence Firestone. This meant that the gang war wasn't just mindless race hatred. It was also about money and power. For the East Coast Crips, there was no equivalent large federal case, but many ECC members had been caught in state prosecutions for individual shootings. There had been whispers and rumors of a possible truce between the East Coast Crips and F-13 in late 2010s. But things would heat up again on August 14, 2019, when two innocent Hispanic men would be gunned down by East Coast Crips, a male suspect and a female suspect.
Gotta keep the same energy. We talk, get your man, not innocence. Now, if it's a witness, I mean, sometimes niggas do be like, man, that's collateral damage. I wasn't finna have nobody in court on me when I done did my Dougie. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it like that could be a possibility, but you can't select the politic, bro. You know what I'm saying? If these were innocent Mexicans that was killed, maybe somebody said an eye for an eye. You know what I'm saying? In any event, no matter how that go, bro, it's a fucked up situation when innocents lose their life. It's a coward situation when innocents, but you know, sometimes, bro, when somebody do that, it's you match that energy, bro. It's fucked up. Let's go.
By the name of Shanice Dyer, who was 17 at the time of the murder.
Ramon Flores showed us some gifts meant to honor his son, 24-year-old Jose Flores, who wanted to work at NASA after he finished his PhD in physics and astronomy at UCI. But those plans were cut short when Flores was killed in a drive-by shooting last week, along with his childhood friend, 24-year-old Alfredo Carrera. Flores told us he's happy a suspect has been arrested because he knows sometimes these cases don't get solved. He said it's not going to bring his son back, but his family will get some justice. Sheriff's investigators say they pulled over this blue Nissan Maxima Friday morning and arrested 27-year-old Jonathan Charles Johnson. They say the same car was captured on surveillance video near the crime scene in Florence.
17-year-old Shanice Dyer, a member of the East Coast Crips, was charged with premeditated murder by District Attorney Jackie Lacey.
After this murder, just 8 days later, an East Coast Crip by the name of Raloris Gordon Jr., aka X-Ray, was gunned down in a drive-by shooting. It's believed this was a retaliation hit. But in the fall of 2019, Mexican mafia member Babo Castellanos engineered and proposed a truce with the East Coast Crips.
It came about because the homie Bob.
I think Babo passed away. Lil Doc just got indicted, but or had got indicted after this. But Babo, I think he passed away. Rest in peace to that SA, man. Obviously a great leader, understood the situation and put his troops into a position to win moving forward. Salute to him for his peace efforts. See, everybody always talk about a warrior and the work that he puts in. Talk about a general and the work you achieve that status from the work you put in, but you maintain that status by the decisions that you make. Understanding that those decisions, for every cause, there's an effect. You know what I'm saying? For every action, there's a reaction. And making sure that you make the best decision to minimize loss of loved ones, to make sure you minimize loss of loved ones to prison and to the caskets where you can. Some things get out of your hands. And those things out of your hands, it becomes survival. Let's go.
Babo is in prison. And what Babo said was, you know, he wanted a truce, you know, and stop this mess. Because Babo, I think he's seen it just like I seen it. You feel me? Babo been down since you know, he was 19.
Where's he from?
F-13. And you know, Babo was like, man, this got to stop. You know, I started going through the hood, getting at all the homies about how they feel about it, because I got, you know, Babo, his word is good.
A lot more peace going on between places that would not see eye to eye for the life of me, bro. There's a lot more positivity in that, and I feel a lot of lives being saved because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People talk about gangbangers and all the lives that they take. But this essay just made a cold point. Gangbangers making decisions to save lives, putting out fires before they burn everything down. That's a gangster. That's not a thug. That's not a gangbanger. That's a gangster. And for this brother to appreciate it, I'm quite sure he's a soldier. I'm quite sure he values the life of his loved ones, his comrades that he lost through them wars. And to prevent having to feel that again, and the families of your loved ones feeling that again, where you can, you find common ground and diplomatic ties to keep those fires put out. Salute to the Florences and the East Coasts. I didn't show this to bring up old wounds. I was showing the cumulative effects of how we got here. The East Coast situation, the riot I talked about in the 99 riots, it was a bunch of riots. I was in 2 of them, but the one I'm talking about now, not the one in Wayside, the one in East Max, this one was in 2600 Day Room, right? And it was all of that tension, and it was racial things everywhere that kicked off on one of the tiers, and And then we ended up kicking off. I heard Chinaman from Hoover saying he was there. Listen, and that he was the first one that took off. That's a lie for sure. Al Bugatti, Pomona Trey 57 was the first one, and he bust on the essay, the shot caller. You know what I'm saying? He hit him up pretty bad too. You know what I'm saying? And I was behind him, so I witnessed him plunge that knife into that dude like that. You know what I'm saying? And from there, I was busy fighting, so I don't know what happened. I was in that dorm for 7 months. I could name everybody that was in there. The boy was it Dulo from Main Street, right? The boy T Fly from Harlem. A nigga from E-Dub had came the night before. He was a Damu out the valley. I was the only Damu for 7 months. Lunch meat from Front Hood. I got down with him about a week before that. His eyes was still just healing up. Baby Drac from Do Rock Crip. Monster from Altadena Block Crip. What was the boy named? The other boy from Compton Crip. Tall brother. But anyway, so if Chinaman was there and moved into the dorm, Baby Herc was there from A. Trey Hoover, but he had already left. The other youngster from 40s, I can't remember his name. He got active. Salute to that brother. My bad for not remembering your name when niggas was back to back and getting it cracking. But that riot really derived from the other riot that started, and that derived from detentions from the Mexican mafia being robbed for, I think it was 400 keys or 500 keys, 300 to 500 keys. Don't get me the line like I wasn't there, but it was the talk of the city. Nigga, the East Coasters was on Crenshaw. Nigga in the Cutlass on Dayton's might have spent 2,500 for it, and a nigga come, nigga, I got a bird, nigga. I want that motherfucker right there. How about I give you this chicken and yay, nigga? Nigga, like, what? Nigga hopping out, nigga, I know what I'm finna bust with something crazy off that. That's how it was cracking in the city. It was the talk of the city. You know what I'm saying? And the essays felt a certain kind of way about it. And from up top, they felt pressures. They couldn't just accept such disrespect and lack of respect. And so it happened how it happened. And it spilled from the streets into the LA County. And I went through that. I understood that era. And yeah, man. But salute to the East Coast Crips. Salute to the Florencia 13 for that. Let's go to Torrance real quick, right? Let's go to Torrance real quick. And then I'm going to be bringing this. Now, this one is a little bit more personal. I actually know. Now, mind you, they said
General Green,
the black gang members was not a real gang in Torrance. 208 Gangsta Crip was a makeshift black gang called gang off of 208th and Western. My mom moved to 207th and Western. I was on house arrest when I first got out of YA, and I learned about the racial tensions out in Torrance. Don't go to the 204 store. They're racist. Man, me and Booger went to the 204 store that day. Dead homies. Nigga had a whole setup over there. Nigga teach them niggas how to really gangbang. But I started seeing fuck niggers on the wall, spray painted, and all of that. Well, when I go back to jail, my neighbor, Cheryl Green, was unalive, innocent. You know what I'm saying? Unalive by this racist SA gang called 204th Street, which is on 204th Street. Her mom was friends with my mom and my little sisters. You know what I'm saying? Dana. So I hope I don't open up no sore wounds as far as with the family. I know that y'all forever going to be grieving Cheryl Green. Let's go.
Was 14 years old. She was an 8th grader living in a Harbor Gateway neighborhood where black and Latino gang members were at war. On the day she was killed, police say Latino gang members were looking for a black person, any black person, to shoot and they found one. Eyewitness News reporter Darsha Phillips is in downtown LA and has reaction from the girl's family.
It is the order of this court that you shall, for each murder conviction individually, suffer the death penalty.
22-year-old Jonathan Fajardo showed no emotion when the judge sentenced him to death for killing 14-year-old Cheryl Green and a witness to the crime, Christopher Ash.
I tried to have some compassion for him.
There goes Charlene.
But seeing that this man doesn't, it's like he's a monster. It's like he's a monster, and how can you have passion for someone like that?
Fajardo, 18 at the time of the killing, opened fire on a group of African Americans in Harbor Gateway. Police say Fajardo, a member of the 204th Street gang, targeted the group because they were black.
I thought those days were over with, and we got out there and did what we had to do to bring, notoriety to the situation.
The killing sparked an outcry of protest from community members and elected officials.
I further find that the murder was premeditated, willful, and committed with malice aforethought.
Fajardo was eligible for the death penalty on the special circumstances of multiple murder, committing a hate crime based on race, and committing the crime for a gang. The victim's family say they are relieved justice has finally been served.
She'll always be with us, and I'm just glad that this part is over with, that we can finally move forward, that Fajardo got what he deserved.
Now, along with that death sentence, Fajardo was sentenced to over 200 years in prison for attempted murder charges involved with that 2006 shooting. Reporting live in downtown Los Angeles, Darsha Phillips, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
So, yeah, man, we already over 2 hours. I didn't even get into the immigration issue. I guess I'll make another video, and hopefully I'll get some clips from this video, and that way I'll just show different clips of certain things, and then see what you guys are feeling about not immigration, because every country deserves the right to protect its borders from exterior threats. So I'm not claiming that that's not an issue, but I'm talking about the practical application of the immigration policies in this country. You know what I'm saying? And we'll get into that in another video, but we're going to be live tonight. Tap in. I hope everybody check it out. The video will be, I'm not just going to talk about the Sureños podcasters disrespecting blacks. I'm going to make it, specifically, it's going to be titled Sureños, the Chicano KKK. This blacks, this but appropriate black culture. So y'all tap in, man. We gonna get into it. Damu Kiwe Conversations.